Are you a parent of a kid who definitely knows what they want and they do not like to take no for an answer? You know, one of those kids who in our culture may be called a strong-willed kid. You know, one of those kids who someday is possibly going to be a great leader, but for now just seems to cause so much conflict in the home. They may even be doing great at school. They may be doing great at church or in their sports, but when it comes to home, there's these conflicts that keep arising and their emotions get big and they definitely have a strong will. Well, we thought over this Christmas time, this will be a time where you're going to get to spend a lot of time with a kid like that, or you definitely know kids like this. So we wanted to bring on Jennifer Kolari from Connected Parenting. And she's a two-time author. She's a sought-after speaker around the world. And this is where her passion is. She calls them gladiator kids, kids who know how to fight, who know how to stand up for what they want, even when, and oftentimes it is not what you want, right? And so those kids can be such a blessing and seem like at times such a curse. I mean, not really, but it definitely can feel that way. Like, oh my gosh, life would be so easier if you just went along with what we're doing. But those kids just won't get up. They don't go along to get along for sure, right? And so I wanted to bring her on. Sarah and I wanted to talk with her to really help you know how to see those kids differently and also give you real concrete steps. Jennifer's going to dive into some real life scenarios that you're probably going to face this Christmas season and tell you how to approach that in a way that at the time will seem so weird and odd, but you'll find it can be magic with your relationship with a kid just like this. So if you haven't yet, please take a moment to pause and to rate, review, and comment on this podcast. We really love to hear your feedback on what you're learning from the podcast, how it's helping your family. And we love it when you share it too to other families because we want to reach as many families as possible, especially as the new year is approaching, to be able to get more families on board when we're doing this content, getting great speakers like Jennifer and Dr. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. And we're going to continue to effort to do that, to get more and more experts along with sharing our own knowledge about how we help and coach parents. So sit back, take a moment, and enjoy this interview with Jennifer Kolari.
Welcome to the Art of Raising Humans.
The Art of Raising Humans is a podcast designed to support, equip, and encourage parents on how to create long-lasting, deeply connected relationships with their kids that's free from fear and shame. Come join us on the journey.
Hello, and welcome to The Art of Raising Humans. I'm Kyle.
Hi there, I am Sarah.
And Sarah, this podcast that we were doing today, we were thinking of dropping it somewhere around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's going to do the week of Christmas or right after it. And I was trying to think, what do we really want to, what topic would be really helpful to our guests, right? And to our listeners. And so I was thinking that week is probably a week where there's a lot of big feelings, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of interactions, a lot of moments for joy, but a lot of moments for conflict, right? Between siblings and parents.
Christmas is a great holidays, all that are great, and they're very tiring and they stress us as well.
Well, and so I was listening to a podcast recently, and it was a podcast, there's a guest on it. Her name's Jennifer, and she is in charge of an organization, a practice called Connected Parenting. Okay. And so I thought when I heard what she was talking about, I thought she's the guest we want to get on. So yes. I want to say thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today.
Welcome.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to it.
And Jennifer, how did you get into this? Like, how did you get passionate about helping parents? I know you've got your MSW and you've got some degrees there, but how did this become your thing?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I've been doing this a long time.
Okay.
I'm old.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this a long time. And when I first finished my undergraduate degree in psychology, I kind of knew that I wanted to do something with families, something with kids. And I'd kind of always known that. But in between doing that on my MSW, I ended up working at a group home for street kids. So these are children who had run away from home, who had been sexually abused, traumatized, physically abused. They'd been through horrific trauma. They were scooped off the streets. This is back when I lived in Toronto, downtown Toronto, and put in what's called a receiving home. So this is a home kind of on the edge of the city, away from the downtown, where kids were kind of kept there for a little while and then either put in foster homes or more permanent group homes, that type of thing. And I signed up for this thinking, okay, green is the grass, but I'm going to save the
That's
world.
right.
Let's see how this
Yes.
goes. And boy, we're going in. Woo, I was in over my head. I
Yes.
mean, these kids were amazing,
Yeah.
but they were also deeply traumatized. They were savvy. They were smart. They knew things I had no clue about. And we were really trained in this group home to be pretty military with these
Yeah.
kids. That was the
Control them.
training we
Yeah.
got,
Make sure you get them under control.
yeah,
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
them and, don't turn your back on
Yeah.
them and don't give an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we were also instructing them, don't get close to these kids because they're not here for very long. And
Mm,
that it's just hard for them that they have to separate again.
yeah.
But they were 11 to 16 years
Wow.
old. So none of this made sense to my heart.
Yes.
None of this.
Yes.
These are kids who've been through hell and
Yeah.
back, and they're in this home and they're scared, and there's only paid people around them to take care of them. So I basically ignored all that.
Yeah.
Just did. And I worked on just naturally connecting with these kids. And one of the moments we really tended to connect was around bedtime.
Okay.
So when the jammies came
Yeah.
on and the makeup came off and the teddy bears came out and they turned back into children,
Yeah.
which they always were, but they were very defended during the day,
Yeah.
I would spend some time with them and I'd sit on their beds and I'd rub their backs and I'd tell them bedtime stories and I'd sing them lullabies. And these kids who were so tough and scary during the day would melt into this bedtime routine. And what I noticed was the next day when it was time for me to get those kids to do the things I needed them to do, they were much more likely to do it for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was seeing healthy
Yeah.
compliance because of
Yeah.
connection, right? And the other staff were like, "Oh, is this crazy? She's a bleeding heart.
That's
They're gonna
right.
walk all over
She's a
her. She's gonna
softie.
lose
She's
control, blah, blah, blah."
enabling them. Yeah. They're gonna take advantage of
Yep,
her. Yep.
exactly, all
Yep.
that. And I didn't care because that just like this just felt to my heart. These children need compassion, they need empathy, need care. They need to see there as adults in the world who can show understanding and compassion. And I really noticed they were different with me during the day. And this is totally an aside, but there was another staff member at the time. This is now like probably 35 years
Okay.
ago, who was similar to me, who was kind of working with the kids the same way. And he's my husband. We met there and we've
Oh,
been married for
awesome.
years.
Wow.
We were
Yes.
bring connected parenting together. So we
Man.
actually met there.
Yeah.
And he went off and did the educational route and
Okay.
the administrative route,
Yeah.
and I allowed, and we circled back to doing counseling together. But anyway, that's just an aside. But there's a very interesting story there that I think really captures the moment. There was one kid who, we had meetings for weeks before this kid came to the home. She's pretty aggressive. She's violent. She punched her social worker in the
Oh,
nose, her
man.
6'2" male social worker in the nose. So we were like battening down the hatches for this kid. And she ended up being one of the children who really loved this bedtime routine. She just
Yeah.
loved it. And I don't think she'd had that anywhere else in her life. So she'd been there about a week and a half. This wild kid was, much better behaved when I was around, or my husband, who was not my husband
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time, was
Yeah.
around. And she's only there for about a week and a half, and she's getting moved to another setting. And the routine at this group home is that you line up on the porch and you wave goodbye to kids who are moving on to a new home. And I'll never forget this. She was walking down with a social worker to the car. She had her hand on the handle of the car. She paused. She turned around. She came running up the sidewalk right to me, put her hands on my cheeks, looked right in my eyes and said, "I want to memorize this face. The face of someone who actually cares about me."
Wow.
And then ran back into the car, and I never saw her again. But that moment was the moment that connected parenting really kind of started cooking
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah.
It's like, this is big. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to spend my life. And I want to learn everything I can about the psychoneurobiology,
Yes.
the science, the
Mm,
biology of love,
yeah.
right? And the superpower that comes from containment. And I'll talk in a little bit about how connected parenting is pretty
Yeah.
balanced, because we also talk about how important it is to set loving
Of
limits,
course.
firm,
Yep.
loving, neutral
Yep.
limits. But the basis of it is really about using language
Yeah.
and love and communication and words as medicine, powerful medicine to build a child up from the inside out. And just another little kind of initial client that really started to build the whole idea of connected parenting for me was after I went back, did my master's degree. I'm now working at an agency. I was working in an agency for kids that have learning disabilities, that have behavioral and social emotional issues related to their learning disabilities. And there was a little kid there. She wasn't so little. She was about 11, who was she was wild. Like, she would come into the agency and throw all the magazines on the floor and trip people in the waiting room that walked by
Yeah.
her. She'd go in the bathroom and stuff the sinks with paper towel and run the water. Like, she was just wild. And the history of that child is she had actually been the product of a rape and her mother had decided to
Oh,
keep her. So
wow.
there was major
Wow.
attachment, major
Yeah.
trauma going on with this mom and this little one. And she used to throw herself down the stairs at the age of 4. Literally
Man.
tumble down the stairs just to get her mother to touch her
Wow.
and talk to her and show some kind of
Yeah.
compassion. So with great appreciation to this mom, she was struggling, but she loved her child enough to bring her child to this agency and let another therapist help her
Yeah.
and help this child.
Yeah.
And that was when
Wow.
connected parenting was really kind of cooking. But this kid used to be really prickly, like one of those kids that like would point out things you didn't
Oh,
even know you
yeah.
didn't
Oh,
like
yeah.
about your
Oh,
teeth are
yes.
crooked on the
Yes.
bottom, and your teeth
Yes.
and your legs are
Your
skinny. You
breath
pronounce that
stinks.
word wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Your breath
Just little kid.
yes.
Yeah. And I had a coping mechanism where I would like deep breathe before I went in the hour
Yeah.
room with her because I had to like
Oh, yeah.
ground myself, and I would be late a couple minutes, not even a couple minutes, probably a minute late
Yeah.
coming in, and she would tear after me. You're an idiot. You're a horrible therapist. You're late every week for me, blah, blah, blah. And I would do therapist-y
Yes.
things that I learned to do. I would say, that must make you feel very
Yes.
angry.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's very upsetting. And she would blow up. Of course it does, you idiot. Like everything I'd learned just backfired with
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
kid. Like spectacularly. And I remember going back to my supervisor and saying, what do I do with this kid? Like, I thought I was compassionate. And I thought I had empathy. And this kid is a nightmare. I don't even like Thursdays anymore. Like, she's really hard.
Yes.
And she said 3 things to me. And this is really foundational to connected parenting. 1, you have to go back in that room and you have to show that child something different from what the rest of the world usually shows her. 2, and I'll never forget this, you have to show her ruthless compassion. Which really stayed with me.
Yeah.
I thought, whoa, I'm hearing something big. I don't know how to do that. I don't even know if I want to,
Yeah.
but I know
Yeah.
I'm hearing
Can I? Do
something
I have it in me?
good.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And to have like to understand subjectivity and
Yeah.
neutrality. Like, how can I go in that room and be really neutral?
Yeah.
And she taught me about a
Mhm.
technique called mirroring, which we're going to talk
Yes.
about
Yeah.
today. I'll
Yeah.
take people
Yep.
through that contact
Yeah.
me. And I went back in that room late. You're an idiot. I hate you. F-bombs flying at me. And normally what we do in this, any kind of role with a kid is we're like, that's not very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how would you feel if somebody
Yeah.
said that to you? And we'd get
Yep.
corrective, to which she would just feel what everyone else does in the world with her, which is reject her.
Yeah.
And she'd have a whole thing. And this time I didn't do that. I looked at her and I said, you know what? This is your time.
Yeah.
This is your
Mm.
appointment. This is your
Yep.
hour. And I'm late. And I was also late last week. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was late about 3 weeks ago. Completely non-defensive,
Yep.
very neutral, very compassionate. And for the first time, I could see tears in this
Mm.
kid's eyes. There's a little person under
Yeah.
there, under all that crinkly
Yep.
stuff. And that was the beginning of a huge shift in my work with her. And, she'd say things like, your teeth are disgusting. They're crooked
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bottom. I can't listen to you. Your teeth are ugly. So instead of saying that's not nice, and how do you think you would feel if someone said that to you? And
Yeah.
what's that touching you that makes you feel like you have to do that to other people? No, I just said, you know what? You have the kind of brain that notices when things are straight and they're lined up and they're where they should be.
Yep.
And you notice when things are out of
Yep.
place. And you know what she said? Oh, your top teeth are really nice though. And now I
Yeah.
can work with
Yes.
that. Right?
Yes.
So now we
Yes.
start having a connection. Under that prickliness is a funny, sassy, interesting, hilarious
Yes.
kid.
Yes.
So I stopped looking at the clock and thinking, oh God, how was that only
Yes.
10
Yes.
minutes? Right.
Yes.
And that time would start to fly. And then guess what? No more tripping people in the waiting room. The floods in the
Yeah.
bathroom
Yeah.
mysteriously stopped. And I went back to my supervisor and said, teach me,
Yeah.
what is this? What is this voodoo? What is this superpower? I need to know
Yes.
more about it. And I started training for the next probably 10 years in self-psychology, which is
Wow.
what connected parenting is
Yes.
based on. So that is the very long
Yeah, no.
story of how
I feel like she's
connected
been in
parenting can-
sessions with kids that we've helped do.
Uh,
That sounds just like many of our sessions.
So many of
Yeah.
your
Yes.
stories. I worked in an agency as well with a lot of kids who have been through some really hard things, and they can be so hard, and then you can love them so much
Mhm.
when they let you behind, when they let you in. So man, I could just
Yeah.
relate to you so much in many of those stories. I
Oh,
want to hear more about what you were saying about the brain. You kind of hit upon love and the brain. And if we can, I want to
Sure.
pull on that a little bit and hear more about what you're
Sure.
saying there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So that moment when I talked to that little girl and I got non-defensive and I just went for the essence of what I think she wanted me to hear.
Yeah.
because we really just all want to be seen.
Yeah.
We want to be seen. We want to feel heard. We want people to, if we can all try to understand before seeking to be understood, we'd be in a very different position with each other, right? So it's that, and that's called attunement.
Yeah.
And that's part of self-psychology, a technique called mirroring, which, and a lot of people think they know what mirroring is. It is not active listening. It's not effective listening, which are great skills. I'm not dissing those skills, but it's not mirroring. Mirroring is something very different. Mirroring is very natural. Most of us know how to do it. We do it beautifully with babies. Nobody picks up a baby and goes, "Hey, why are you crying?" Like you pick up a baby and it bypasses language.
Yeah.
So what happens is that moment, those words don't really have much meaning, but the look on your face, the energy in your body really tells that baby that, because they don't have language to mitigate, it bypasses the limbic system, which is safety and security center of the brain, as you guys know, and it bypasses the language center and hits the limbic system directly. So there's this calm down. There's this little moment of like, yes, right? And so most of us know how to do that with a baby. So the example I usually give is, let's say you've got a, 4-month-old, and you're giving them a bath, and they're crying and fussing and kicking. Nobody looks at the baby and says, "This is ridiculous.
Yes.
You're 4 months old. You want a bath every night. Nothing bad has ever happened. You're okay." We look at the baby and go, "I know you're cold and this towel's scratching." The baby has no clue what you're saying, but the baby sees on your face a perfect representation of what they are feeling inside, which hits the neuron cells in the brain, which then release oxytocin, opiates, and natural endorphin, which are powerful reward chemicals that bathe every cell in the body and calm that little baby down, or person. So that's the basis of it. Most of us are pretty good at this, but around the time of language acquisition, we stop doing it. So now let's think about our 4-year-old who's fussing in the bath because they don't want to get out. Now it looks a little different, right? Now it's like, "Honey, get out of the bath, please." No, I'm having good. "Honey, get out of the bath, please. Mommy's getting upset. This is not mommy's happy face. This is mommy's angry face. I'm gonna start counting. 1, 2, 3, 3.5. And then your other kid's running down the hall, and you're right. So we really start to shift that. So the teaching and some of the foundational stuff is that you always start with connection first. You always connect before you correct.
Yeah.
And then probably, even with the sassiest of kids, usually, 90 to 95% of the time, if you do this genuinely and authentically from a place of love, not fear, it will have that chemical response in the brain, and the person will calm down. The baby will calm down. So let's say you've got your 4-year-old. How would this look? It would look like, before coming and saying, "Okay, you've been in the bath long enough. Time to go to bed. We want to have time for stories." You come in and you go, "Oh, this looks awesome." You put your hand in the water. "Oh my gosh, it's the perfect temperature. This is going to be really hard to get out of this bath. This is constant." And we're playing with, and what do? It's connect. You're in that moment. You're having that moment with them. This is wildly counterintuitive because your head is going, "I got to get this kid out of the bath. I got 3 other kids. But this is ridiculous. I might even hopefully watch a show, maybe after I finish the dishes," right? So we have our own agenda sometimes, but it's taking that agenda and just pausing it. Usually after you've done that for a minute, so you got to give yourself enough time to do that. So just a few minutes. Honestly, it doesn't take long. Usually the kid goes, "Okay, I'll get out of the bath." And there you go. And it sounds crazy, but it really is like a superpower. It really does work. And I'll have parents often say to me, like, "I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that." Well, my answer is, you don't have time not to.
I know.
Because if you don't do it, you're going to be in the bath till the water's cold. The kid's going to be slashing you and upset and screaming at you. And
it's going to take a lot more time when they're a teenager and you're trying to do the same thing, and they don't trust it. They don't believe it. They're on guard.
The relationship is hurt as well compared to what you were describing. I can feel the warmth in that. I can feel the, "Wow, you see me. You know that this matters to me." And wow, that just feeling is wonderful when you feel seen and heard, and what you value, someone else is seeing and valuing for you.
Well, and Jennifer, I remember when we felt that superpower, like I did personally, where we would go to Target and the kids were little, and I remember the tantrums I used to throw, and my parents would not give me something I wanted. And I remember the reason why I did that is because I didn't think my parents really understood how much I wanted it. right? And that's why I would throw the
Mhm,
tantrum, to
mhm.
like leave an impression on them that I want this badly. And so I remember we went to Target one time and the kids said, "Dad, can I get that Lego set?" And I thought, I'm gonna do this stuff that I've learned. I said, "You want that Lego set? That
Mhm.
Lego set's awesome. I want that Lego set over there. What other Lego sets do you want? Let's get all the Lego sets you want. Let's put them together. Let's take a picture of each of the Lego sets so we don't forget how badly you want those. Because I want to remember when it comes to Christmas
Yeah.
time." And it was neat to see the kids go, "Okay, so we're not getting them now? No, okay, so maybe, yeah, no, we're gonna go home and tell mom about them. We're gonna show the pictures and we're gonna talk about how cool they would be to get, but we're not gonna get them right now." And they were like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And it was just so neat that there was
Yeah,
never a battle over that. It was just fantastic.
amazing, and you got the urgency,
Yeah,
because often it's just about the urgency
yeah,
transfer,
yeah,
right? And back to the brain thing, what's literally happening in the brain is the mirror neuron cells trigger, "Ah, somebody gets me.
yeah,
I'm feeling distress, but someone's actually hearing me and seeing me. I don't need to keep sending the message. I don't have to keep hitting the send button because someone actually gets me." So
yeah.
there's an immediate oxytocin flow, and what oxytocin does, and oxytocin is a hormone slash neurotransmitter, is it actually mitigates cortisol.
Yeah,
So it regulates and mitigates cortisol. It also does other amazing things. It strengthens the immune system.
yeah,
It speeds up neuroplasticity. We
mm,
want our kids to learn and do
yeah,
well in
yeah,
school. The higher the level of
yeah,
oxytocin, the more they're going to take healthy risks and feel good in school. It's
yeah.
free. You don't need a
Right,
prescription.
yeah.
You don't run out of
That's good.
You can't become addicted
Yes.
soon. You don't need like some independent insurance party clearing whether you can have it or not.
Yeah,
Like it is literally free. It is a free superpower. And the best part of all, because we're talking about parents, is you get the bounce back.
yeah, yeah,
So you get that same flow of those same chemicals, which cools and calms down your limbic
yeah.
system, which is really, really important.
And
So just and just to,
yeah, go ahead.
oh,
No,
sorry,
you go
ask
ahead,
the question,
Jennifer.
and I
Go
want
ahead.
to
Finish.
tap
Yeah,
onto the
go ahead.
brain.
Yeah,
Okay. So what I was going to say is, and I'm sure your listeners know all about the brain, but just like a recap, frontal lobe,
yep,
right? The part that regulates, organizes, prioritizes, mitigates, switches attention, keeps track of time, knows what I should say and shouldn't say, inside voice, outside. That's frontal lobe. Then we have the midbrain. That's the part that just cares about
yeah,
survival. I don't care about friendships. I don't care about my marriage. I don't
yep,
care about my job. I don't care about
yep,
anything. I need to stay
yeah,
alive. I need to stay safe. And it can't tell the difference between not getting a toy in Target
yep,
and a tiger that's chasing you down the street. It is the same thing to the limbic system. It's the frontal lobe that decides what's a real
yeah,
danger and what's not. And so here's the really tricky part of parenting. This is what I say to my parents. You're not actually a parent.
yeah,
You're not. You're a substitute frontal lobe.
yeah, yep,
That's what you are.
yep,
Your job is to do all those things for that little person
yep,
because a frontal lobe is not fully formed until kids are about 25,
yep,
maybe even close to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
30, really, and not really up and running till probably 19,
yeah,
if we're being really honest.
yeah,
So that's what's exhausting to be a parent
yes,
sometimes
yeah,
because the parents say, "Why do I have to say this 50,000 times?" Because you're a substitute frontal lobe,
yeah, yeah.
right? And you have to do it with neutrality and confidence and sturdiness and
Yeah,
love.
yeah, I love that. And our listeners can't hear the brain stuff enough because I think so often if you're not looking at it or reading it, it just kind of flies over most people's head. But I know for us, once we learned that stuff too, Jennifer, it helped me really parent from the inside out rather the outside in. And instead, I was like, oh, where are
Absolutely.
they at in the brain, or where am I at in the brain? And just for all our listeners, we have many podcasts and resources, those kind of things. To go check that out because it really will change how you see your kids' behavior. And I wanted you to speak, Jennifer, about how in our culture today we have a lot of people. I know most of our listeners, they want to get away from using fear and shame and more of these kind of controlling and fear-based techniques, but
Mhm.
then many of them slip into what gets a bad rap in society, which is like the gentle parenting kind of mode where it definitely looks more permissive. And so then they end up doing this like mixture of being really nice and then getting mad and like going back to punishment stuff, and then it's like nice and
Well,
like
it's
and
swimming.
it really is
Right.
like they're in this dichotomous place of it's either that or that. And I would love for you, when you're
Mhm.
talking to your parents, how do you describe that other option, that third path,
Mm.
that is still
Yeah.
kind, it is still firm, but it's not you scaring your kid or controlling your kid.
No, absolutely. Well, and if you look in politics, in the financial world, like we like to polarize. We swing.
Mm-hmm,
We overcorrect,
mm-hmm,
and then we fix that and we overcorrect the other way, right? So parenting is no different. And you'll even see that polarizing in your own
Yeah.
house or in when you're working with families. Like one parent is usually the, oh, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
He's hungry. He had a bad
Yeah.
day. He's really
Yep.
struggling. He's got anxiety. This is really tough. We need to hear what this is about. We need to be really compassionate. And the other parent is up, and it's ridiculous. This kid's out of control. We need some rules around here.
Yep.
And so what ends up happening is you kind of compensate for what you believe is a weakness and the other one's
Yeah.
parenting.
Yep.
And so the softer parent gets softer because they don't need to be so hard because the other parent's hard. And then the harder parent is like harder than they need to
Yep.
be.
Yep.
And then what happens is the softer parent gets the cuddly stuff and the what's wrong
Yeah.
and the needing comfort. But then the kids are all running down the hall and not listening when it's time to go to bed,
Yeah.
right? And the tougher parent, everybody goes to bed and behaves really nicely, but nobody's telling that parent what's
Yes.
wrong.
Yes. No, we see that all the time. Yep.
So, yeah. So the answer's in the middle,
Yeah.
right? And I think, and I'm sure there's other parenting models that
Yeah.
do this too, but connected parenting is really about integration.
Yep.
It's about bringing those two things. So what I say to parents is like, you're both right.
Yeah.
I can settle this argument right now. You are both right. You need to understand, what's going on with your child. What's behavior is never the problem. It's the symptom
Yeah.
of the
Yep.
problem.
Yep.
And so start there. Always start with connection. Always start with that medicine.
Yeah.
And then you do need to have like firm, loving, predictable, sensible boundaries because they don't have a frontal lobe. And kids will tell you themselves they want that. If you go out with your kids in Target and you see another kid freaking out and the
Yeah.
mother just handing them a toy
Yeah.
and you say to your kid, what do you think? They're like, oh,
Yes.
the mother should not have done.
Right.
They'll tell
Yes.
you.
It's good.
They'll read you.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to love my iPad. You took it away. And it's like, they do. They crave that loving because the limits are love
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what happens is either parents polarize in a couple, or if you're a single parent or whatever, even if you're in a couple, you swing yourself. So it's like, you get angry with your kids for jumping on the couch, right? And then they jump on the couch anyway. And you're like, you know what? Fine.
Yeah.
Jump on the
That's just
couch. I
screw it.
can't
That's
do it.
yes.
Find out what happens. Or, you want a cookie? Here, have a whole box.
That's right.
See what happens when you go to the dentist the next time. We're tired. It's exhausting.
Yes.
And I don't think we talk enough about like parents' hearts
Yeah.
and how hard it is and
Yes.
how overwhelming it is
Yeah.
to raise a little person and care so much about them and just be overwhelmed by all the different parents. There's so much. It's same with anything, fitness advice,
Yep.
eat this, don't eat that. This is good for you. That's not good. Head spinning,
Yes.
right? So part of it is also really taking all that amazing stuff that's out there, but learning how to parent from an aligned place in your center. Right? If you're yelling and angry, you're going to feel gross.
Yeah.
You are. In the moment, you're going to feel like you're doing something important. But after, when you go to bed, you're going to cry yourself to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to go to bed saying, I don't want to be that parent. I'm not going to yell in the morning. I'm going to be so calm tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so good. And then 10 minutes into the
Yes.
morning, you're like, get in the car.
Yes.
Right? And then you feel horrible because you've done all these courses and you've read all these
That's
books.
right.
Like, what's wrong
Yes.
with me?
Yeah.
So we're back to the brain again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what happens, our limbic system, as loving and caring as we want to be, gets taxed.
Mm-hmm.
We get exhausted and kids will push and push and push. Why? Because the limbic system, like they're the kind of metaphoric limbic system, they're pushing back on us
Yeah.
to feel our limit setting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it is really, really tiring. And with super sassy kids, with kids that are really
Yeah.
strong-willed,
Yeah.
they're relentless. And a lot of the beautiful stuff you've learned and conferences you've gone to
Yep.
will absolutely backfire
Yeah.
with those kids. Like blow up in your face.
Yeah. Can you talk more about
Yeah.
those kids?
That's what I was.
Yeah, because I want you. I know why. I say that as probably being one of those kids when I was a kid. So like I tell kids all the time the stories, but obviously I love being that kid. I think being that kid has really helped me be able to make a lot of great decisions in my life because of that determination. But I'd love for you to talk about
Absolutely.
that kid and how I'm sure parents are going to run into that.
Yeah, because I think
Oh,
hear parents be like, "Oh, this is all great, but you haven't met my kid."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even mean to dismiss that. I mean, there are some kids out there.
I hear it all the time.
Wow, this
Yeah.
is hard. And as a parent, when you're exhausted and spent and you've been trying and trying. So yeah, I think everyone would love to hear what about that.
Well,
Absolutely.
in one example,
as a child.
Jennifer, I'll give that I tell parents all the time is I knew my parents would tell me no if we went to the store and I wanted a candy bar or something. They typically would say no. But I knew the way to get that candy bar, to get that toy I wanted, is if my dad got mad at me, if I could push him to get mad enough to slap me, then he would feel bad about that. And then he would take me to the store and buy me almost anything I wanted. So there was many times where I could see him getting upset and he was going to threaten to spank me. For some reason, spanking me didn't bother him as much. But if he smacked me in the face, he'd feel some shame about that. And then later on, he'd say, "Do you want to go to the store with me?" And I say, "Yeah, let's go to the store." And then we'd go to the store. And then he'd be like, "Hey, do you want some candy bar? Do you want that candy bar?" Like, "Yeah, Dad, thanks. It's great." He wanted to make up for it. So that's where I try to tell parents, like, I knew what I was doing the whole time. I was just playing a game that they had set up, that this was the way to get what I wanted, But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And sometimes, we use the word manipulation, but the truth is under that behavior, there's something else. There's like, what do I have to do to be seen? Right? What do I have to do around here to feel that? And also to deal with the really big feelings of not getting something that you really want. Like those are big feelings for kids. And by the way, 1,000 times worse now in our culture because of social media and quick rewards for everything. But okay, so let me kind of give you the definition of gladiator. And this is honestly our specialty. These are our kids. I mean, we work with kids that are anxious and we deal with all kinds of families and all kinds of kids, but the kids we work with are the ones who are like, "Tried that, doesn't work.
That's right.
Good luck." Like you had not met my kid. And what's interesting is I actually have one of those.
Nice.
So I have 3 kids. They're older now, but my first 2 were easy peasy. And I'm a parenting expert. I've already written my books by then. I'm like, oh, I really am quite good at this. And then I had Olivia. Who's 21 now. Oh my God. I tell you, I was like, I'm going to quit. I don't know what I'm doing. This kid is like, my husband too. When she was about 18 months old. So this is we lived in Canada at the time. Canada has a prime minister, not a president. So she was 15 months old in her diapers. My mother had been babysitting her, fully talking, and she'd been really terrible. I don't know what she did, but anyway, my mother said to her, "You know what, Olivia, I'm gonna call your mommy and daddy because you're just giving me such a hard time, and they're gonna have something." And she put her hands on her hips, 18 months, and said, "I don't care if you call the prime minister," and stomped out of the room. First of all, Canadian kids don't even know there's a prime minister because they watch US TV. So the fact that she doesn't know that is unbelievable. But who thinks that too? They don't even have to answer to the head of the country, let alone their parents. So, and I literally read my own book 3 times. I'm not joking when I say that. Like,
you're like looking to yourself for wisdom. I'm gonna find this.
But those are our kids. Like we have parents that have tried everything, that everything has blown up, and they, we're laughing about this, but honestly, I have had so many parents in my office in tears. Like I love my kid, of course, but I hate them. They're ruining my life. They ruin everything we try to do. Whatever advice people give me blows up in our face. I can't. It is so disheartening and exhausting and heartbreaking from a parent point of view to have a kid like this. And so I'll give you the definition of gladiator, because I actually think, this is my theory, they're here to save us all. Okay, so let me just, I think we are not going to change this hot mess that we're in as a planet without really strong-willed individuals who have enough kind of internal energy and power to challenge paradigms and to break through things, right? However, they are really hard to parent because you have this huge responsibility. How do you bring this powerful, amazing, intelligent kid who's like, why would I do that? You can't make me do that. I'm not doing that. That's stupid. You can't tell me. Like, how do you get a kid like that to not be pushed to the periphery? Right? To have attachment or anxiety issues because you're mad at them all the time, or because their siblings are mad at them all the time, or whatever. So I actually think we need them, and they're going to save us all. But we have a responsibility to parent these kids in a really unique way. And there are absolutely magnificent parenting models that are out there, and elements of that will work very well with a child like this. But there's the real piece that has to happen is the neutrality, the compassion for sure. Because what happens is, for a lot of these kids, they push back so hard on the world. They have such a massive counter will that they are constantly in a state of opposition and friction with other people in their lives. And some of these kids are absolute nightmares at home, but quite perfect at school. Like that's not unusual for them to be great at school. And I'm sure, you do the same thing that I do when I have a family that comes to me. And if that's the case, I know that it's behavior
Yeah, of
then,
course. Yeah. No.
right? If they're having trouble
Yeah,
everywhere and they're getting kicked out of school and camp and grandma won't take them anymore, then there's usually, and I'm not saying that's a
of
hopeless case.
course.
There's still
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
you can do, but there's usually something else going
yeah.
on. But if they're perfect everywhere else and they're just a nightmare at home, it's behavior. The good news is behavior, and the bad news is
Right.
it's
Yes,
you.
yes,
It's behavior,
yes.
right? So there are really, really important, unique ways. So when I start with a family like this, and I have like a whole
Sure.
checklist of like all of these behaviors that
Yeah,
you'll see with kids like this, and they're our favorite kids, I'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
honest. Like, I love when families come to me like this. And I will have families that literally have burned through, I don't know how many therapists, they've got a whole prognosis, they've got so many letters beside the
They've
kid's name,
definitely
they
got
don't know what's going
ODD.
on.
They've definitely got ODD.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
And then 6 months later,
Yeah.
they don't meet the
Yeah.
criteria anymore,
Yeah.
right? And that is a really important thing. And it sounds it's such a heavy thing because you think, "Oh god, is it really me?" But it's not. It's the dynamic. It's these kids are so powerful and are so exquisitely sensitive, although the parent would not realize that. Um, that they're just walking around wounded all the time. They give a disproportionate response to their siblings or to you anytime they don't get
Yeah.
something or feel injured or wounded or embarrassed. They have what I call it the burn. Oh, I wish we had more time because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
also aware that
You're
time is
good. You're
ticking up.
good.
Um, I call it the burn. So these kids get so unbelievably
Yeah.
embarrassed, mortified. The second you tell them something or you call them out, and you could do it in the nicest way, honey, please don't put that there.
Yeah.
They don't hear that. They hear, don't put that there, you idiot. Even that's not what you said. And they will respond as if you said it in anger. They are so intensely sensitive
Yeah.
to shame,
Yeah.
right? And it drops right through them like a burning feeling. And so they spend a lot of their time trying to avoid that feeling by attacking you
Yeah.
first, right? Or overreacting first. And then they sort of take everything in, like, you won't buy me that thing, or, whatever it is, with such a deeper wound. And they're also quite aware, like, they can be quite horrible during the day, but they're usually quite anxious at night and want you to lie down with them
Yeah.
and not leave them. And
Yeah.
you're like, you hate me. You tell me all day long how much you hate me, but now I got to lie down beside you and help you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because they know they're loved, but they feel unlovable.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? And they
Totally.
know that they've
Yeah.
done so many things during the day that make them unlovable, that they start literally saying, and it's similar to what you were talking about with your dad and Target, but I think what's happening, and I work with so many of them one on one, that they feel so afraid of themselves. I'm going to blow this.
Mm,
I'm going to end up blowing this up
yeah.
because I always do. And I promise myself I'm not going to, but I always do. So you know what? I'm just going to pull the plug. I'm just going to blow it so that at least I know I'm in control.
Yeah.
And it's not because mommy and daddy don't love me. It's because I chose to do that thing. Right. And it's really confusing for parents. So much of it is education around
Yeah.
this type of child, this neurospicy
Yeah.
kid, and then holding on and being and always connecting before correcting. We'll get into the
Yeah.
content
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have to
Yep.
talk about that. That's their medicine. And then setting limits with front loading and neutrality, and not a kid like this. If you say, okay, well, you've lost your, I don't know, your video games,
Yeah. Yeah.
they'll blow up the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
They'll start throwing or screaming or whatever. And you have, or they'll, I don't care. I don't care. Take it away. I don't care. I don't care if I ever see it again. And what we do as parents is like, oh, yeah. Well, maybe
I
you'll
know.
care if
I
it's for
know.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Then. How about that?
Yep.
How about work like this too? And you end up in this ridiculous power struggle. And it has to be more like, you know what? I would hate having that stuff taken away too. I would. You could be mad. You be as mad as you need to be. I love you enough for you to be mad at me.
Yeah.
It is not okay for you to choose that behavior. And because I love you, this is gone. And you can make all the noise you want to. I love you. I'm strong enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up for you.
Yeah.
You will get it back in 2 days
Yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And hold that steady, sturdy stance, which is much harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it is the only way.
that's what so appealed to me. This kind of parenting model of connection first, really doing the inside out, because anytime I heard other type of models that were more based on control, consequences, love and logic, those type of ones, I would tell Sarah, I'd be like, dude, if my parents did that to me, would totally like if you threatened to like sell my thing to pay for that thing, I'd just go get some of yours and go sell it. Like, you want to do this all day?
I
I
mean,
have
it
I
would
have more
blow
time than
up.
you to
Yeah.
think about this. Like, I'm in school all day just thinking about it, and you're like off at work thinking about other things. So if you want to get into a power struggle with me, you will lose it. And that's where I
Yeah.
think these
And more
kids
power
feel
to you.
that. Yeah.
It is, and it's almost a sense of annihilation
Yeah.
for them. They are so sensitive and so wounded by things. They feel absolutely like they have to protect
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
And it's beyond logic. It's primal when they get like that. So all those techniques usually they will work better after you've
Yeah.
reestablished
Yeah. Yeah.
connection and things are calmer and there's more trust and the whole system is calmed
Yeah.
down. But in the first place, forget it. And the flip side of that, which is like, and I'm not dissing anybody's parenting model.
Sure.
They're
Sure.
beautiful. So
Yep.
like gentle stuff, unconscious stuff
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
lovely. But do that by itself with a
Yeah.
gladiator? Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. It'll work beautifully on your other
Yeah.
kids. It will spectacularly backfire
Yeah.
with your gladiator, right? So it's just a little bit different. They need a little bit more containment, and they will test you. They will push back, and you have to be able to hold steady, and sturdy neutrality is the biggest key. One of the things when I'm working with families that's I want to recognize is that this sounds great.
Yeah.
I've had a kid like this. So I know, like, I would push to my absolute limit where I'm like, oh my God, this kid is going to make me crazy. I can't. But the truth is, you have to be able to show up that way for them. They need you. If they needed treatment, if they had a
Yeah.
horrible cancer, if there was something awful, you would find a way.
Yeah.
You would. This is what they need.
Yeah.
This is what they need. And when you get angry, so anger, like really popular parenting technique,
Yes.
yelling,
Yeah.
right? We all do
I've
it
used
from time
it.
to
Sure.
time. It happens. And if it happens once in a while, so what? You're not going to raise your kid and never get mad. That's not normal.
Yeah.
If you always stayed calm and never got upset and
Yeah.
had the perfect response every time, you're going to mess them up anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're going to go to work, the boss is going to yell at them and they're not going to know what to do, right?
Yeah.
So once in a while, of course, it just can't be your primary
Yeah.
technique, especially with a gladiator. And you have to kind of think like, when have you ever been yelled at or screamed at or bawled out and you've gone, oh, thank
Yes.
you so
I learned
much.
my lesson. Thanks.
That is exactly what I never.
Yes.
No way. Your limbic system is not going to let you do
Yeah.
that, right? No kid is going to go, you're right, mom.
Yeah.
I am lucky to have a brother and I'm going to share my best toys with him right now.
You're right.
They're not going to do
Yes.
that. So I hate
Yes.
you. You always take his side. You never care about
Exactly.
me, right? So it is not entirely logical.
Yeah.
So when I start with a family, unless there's like really aggressive,
Yeah.
violent, or
Yeah.
physical behavior,
Sure.
which is a different thing, we start with connection. And it is usually something there's the parent, although they love their child deeply, it feels wildly counterintuitive. They also feel very wounded. Their own limbic system has been burned so many times by this kid that it just, it feels really hard to do, but you have to do it. Oh, how much time do I have to talk about the calm
Good.
technique?
Go
That's
for it. Yeah.
important.
Hit it. Yeah. I was
Oh.
going to ask you.
Okay, so this is where you start. So the calm technique, you're going to do 4 things to deeply attune to your child, and you're gonna start to understand that the more you do this, it's like a layer of paint that just gets thicker and thicker and thicker. You are building that child up from the inside out, and it will feel unbelievably counterintuitive in the beginning. You'll want to do everything else except do this. It's going to feel wrong, but trust me, it's right. And because these kids have such often have an anxious attachment, not because you don't love them and you haven't showed up for absolutely everything for them, but because they don't trust themselves and they know they're going to get in trouble in 5 seconds, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to connect. You're going to take your agenda. Don't talk to me that way. Do your homework. Don't treat your brother like that. Whatever it is, you're going to pause it. I promise you get to bring it back. Your frontal lobe. You have to bring it back.
Yep.
But you start with the connection first.
Yeah.
And then the next letter is A. So and we'll go through an actual scenario. The next letter is A. This is affect matching.
Yeah.
So this is where the look on your face kind of has to look like the look on their face, right? So if they're, I don't know, sad about their Lego tower falling apart and they're bawling their eyes out, you don't want to come in with this neutral, this is a great opportunity to actually learn about frustration management. Like that's not going to work, right? You want to have like an affect match. L is the part where you're using your words, and it's third for a reason because it's not what you say, it's how you say.
Yep.
In case nobody remembers what you say, remember how you make them feel. I mean, that's just the bottom line, right? So here you can paraphrase, you can summarize, you can clarify, or you can wonder out loud. And those are the 4 things that you do. When you've done those things here. So let me walk you through a scenario. Let's pick like a classic I don't know, gladiator scenario. So let's say you got your little, I don't know, 8-year-old gladiator kid. They're finally calm for 5 seconds, and you have that thought in your head where you're like, "Oh, things seem to be
Yeah,
going
everything's
fairly
great.
well,"
It's gonna be a
which
great day
means
today. Yes.
and then, of course, it blows up 5 seconds later. They're throwing things around, they're screaming, they're yelling because they had this amazing tower, and now it's in pieces, or they were following the book and whatever. And we usually come upstairs in one of 2 ways as a parent. Both ways, though, we're trying to suppress
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
contain, but usually our first agenda. "What now?"
Mhm.
Or, "Oh my
Mhm.
god," or, "Oh my god, he slipped out
Uh-huh.
again. But if I don't fix this, the whole night's gonna be gone." Like, we have our own, our child's life flashes before
Yes.
our eyes as a parent. But usually we come upstairs either cheerleading, "Honey, I'm gonna help you. Let's see if we
Yeah,
can fix
yeah.
it." Or, "Oh, this is ridiculous. We're gonna take this Lego away if you can't learn how to handle your toy, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah." So let's say we come upstairs, very typical way, kids screaming and yelling. We come upstairs and we're like, "Honey, what happened? What's wrong? What's the matter?" See the fear in my
Yeah.
voice there,
Oh, yeah,
right?
the anxiety. You can feel
Yes.
the anxiety, yeah. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And the child already
Yep.
feels like, "Ooh,
Yep.
she's scared of me," or "He's
Yeah, yep.
scared." And then we start with, "Well, what happened?" "Well, this Lego is stupid. All the people at Lego should be fired. It's such a stupid company. They're done. This book doesn't work." "Well, honey, I'm sure they know what they're doing. I mean, it's their job to work at Lego. Maybe you missed a step." "I didn't miss a step. You don't know anything about Lego." Blah, blah. So you can see already,
Yeah.
like, I can keep
Yes,
going, but
yes, yeah.
everything I'm saying
Course.
is not
Yep,
matching,
yep.
which means that child, and not just a gladiator, any
Yeah.
child who's upset, any wife or husband
Yep.
who's upset will do the same
Yeah.
thing. They will escalate because you don't get it. And so in that moment, they're like, "Okay, they're not getting it. So I got to ramp this baby up. I got to escalate this situation because clearly they're coming in thinking this is an easy problem to solve. And I need to convince them that this is not. This is a nightmare. And I've just built the best thing I've ever built. And
Yeah,
now it's in
yeah,
pieces and they
yep.
don't care." Right. So the other way we might come in is with anger. "What is going on? Why can't you? I just got your brother to bed, and
Yeah.
now you're screaming about, Dad, I hate you, and I hate Lego, and you never care about what happens to me. Stop it! Stop
Yeah,
yelling! You are waking up your brother. If you can't handle them, I'm going to take these toys.
yeah.
I'm going to put them in a box. They're going to somebody who actually cares about their
It's like
toys,
you can
right?
treat
So
them
now we
with respect.
right. So either one of those,
Yeah.
exhausting, relationship breakdown, horrible and tiring for the parent, really tough on the kid who does not have as much control over these enormous tsunami feelings that they have. We know as an adult, they're not going to remember this in a week.
Yeah.
But when they're 8 and it's the best thing they've ever built and it's in pieces, they're
Yeah.
devastated. Right. And we have to remember as adults, for a lot of kids, luckily, that actually is one of the worst things that's ever happened to them in his entire life. And right. And we have to remember
Yes.
that. Right.
Yes.
So now, how are we going to use the calm technique
Yeah.
here? Before you go upstairs, you cannot regulate another human being
Yeah.
if you are not
Yeah.
regulated yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to ground yourself, take a breath, relax your tongue on your bottom teeth,
Yeah.
relax your shoulders, take a breath. Think about your cute little chubby baby when they were little. Like, think about this is a moment in time. I'll get through this. Breathe. Okay. Ground yourself. Then you go upstairs. And your first thing is to take your agenda. Are you kidding me that this is
Yes.
happening? And put it over here. Walk upstairs and you're going to go, "What's going on?" "My Lego. Look at it. It's in pieces. I hate the people at Lego. They should be fired." "Oh my God. When I was here a minute ago, your tower was like this tall,
Yeah, yeah,
honey.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened? It's stupid."
Yeah.
And so that I can either summarize, "And this happened last week
Yeah.
when you were doing the
Yeah.
helicopter," right? Or I can paraphrase, "You're feeling like this is somebody's job
Yeah.
to build this toy,
Yep.
and you're pretty good at Lego.
Yeah.
So you're having a hard time wondering how these people have this job
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
and it's in pieces." I'm not agreeing with that. I don't agree
Sure.
with
Yeah.
him,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm mirroring
Yes.
him,
Yeah.
right?
Love
And
it.
what's happening? He doesn't need to keep hitting the send
Yeah.
button. I am
Mhm.
releasing oxytocin, opiates,
Yeah.
endorphins. I'm taking his brain out of an adrenaline-based response, and I'm slowly switching it over to an oxytocin-based
Yeah.
response, which often miraculously either turns into tears or "Can you help me?" or "What should I do?" or a nice big chest to chest hug. It can turn into a completely different moment, right? I could also clarify. Sometimes it's not about the Lego. Sometimes it's about the birthday party they didn't get invited
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Dude.
Or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
happened to them. And so you can mirror the Lego and
Yeah.
then say, "And you know what? On top of that,
Yeah.
this happened that
Yes.
day when you didn't get invited to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
party," right? And now you get
Yeah.
softness, and now you get tears. Tears, by the way, are always underneath
Yeah.
the anger.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Always, right? always. And wildly counterintuitive. No part of you is going to feel like
Yeah.
this. You're going to want to do the exact opposite. It is magic.
Yeah.
It is
It is.
absolutely
Yeah.
stunning. It works so well. It'll freak you out. In the times that it doesn't, then the kid is just in a vortex,
Yes.
and then they're just spinning.
Yeah.
They're just getting energy out,
They're
and
just
you're just
needing to
like,
vomit it
I'm
all.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm here. I love you. You know what? I'm sorry your brain's doing this to you. I got you. I'm here for you. You want a hug? No, get out. I hate you. Okay. I'm right here if you need me. Dart in and dart out. Unless they're hitting, breaking things, and
Sure.
that's a different
Yeah.
conversation. But if they're just having a fit, give them space. Don't joke in there and try to extinguish the tantrum. Forget
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's so
Don't.
great. Yeah. And that's an example over this Christmas break. So many parents are going to be experiencing with the new Legos
Yes.
they just bought their kids, and
Oh,
Sarah and
yes.
I want to just back up everything you're saying. It is magic, and it is so fun. Jennifer, you've experienced it just like Sarah and I when we've been coaching parents, and they actually go do this, and they'll even say it felt so weird to do it, but then my kid started to cry, and then my kid gave me a big hug. And then like they actually cleaned up the Legos, and they actually said, do you want to build it with me? Because I'm kind of tired of doing it by myself. And they're like, wow, it was
Yeah.
such an amazing connecting moment, you know? And so I really want for all the listeners who are hearing these steps that Jennifer's kind of laying out, I promise you they do work. It's not just something that we've done with our own kids or she's done with hers, but that we've done with families for the last decade that we've helped do these kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and I think
It's really
Yeah.
powerful.
as the parent, you have to remember, because you're tired, you're
Yeah.
having a hard time too. But that piece you said in the beginning of, just taking care of yourself and making sure you're in a place to show up and do that. And if it, you so badly, desperately want something to work, and you got to keep going, keep
Yeah.
going, keep
Yeah.
going, and your kid has to learn to trust that you're going to show
Yeah.
up that way.
Yeah.
They're kind of expecting
Mhm.
the other parent, the other version to show up.
Of course, at any
And
moment. Yeah, you're going to
yeah.
revert back to what you used to do.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think those, holding on to those things and the way you just walked through that, this
Yeah,
was
it's really
really
great.
beautiful, so
Yeah.
helpful.
And I was thinking, Jennifer, too, if we can do that at 8 with a Lego, then when they're 16 getting into their first car wreck, you'll know how to respond to that
Oh,
too,
good.
right? Because
Yeah.
you hear a lot of stories about that too. Then the kid blows up at the parent, and the parent's like, "You wrecked the car," and it's like it's a much bigger, thing going on. But if you've learned to do that, then the kid will call you up and say, "Hey, I wrecked the car," and they're not expecting you to flip
Yeah.
out on them. You
They
know?
built that
Yeah.
trust.
Or Dad, this is happening at this party and it's freaking me
Yes.
out. Can you come get me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's
Um,
good.
yeah, it really is when I was sort of developing this, I was thinking like at first it would work better with little kids than teenagers, and it works with both,
Sure.
but honestly it's teen
Yeah. Yeah.
whispering. There literally
Yes.
is
Yes.
no other way to
Yes.
talk to your teenager.
Yes.
It is teen
Yeah.
whispering. It's really
Yeah.
about approaching your child from a place where you want them you want to feel like they're
Yeah.
understood instead of them understanding
Completely.
you.
Yep.
And you sort of have to sit in this place of like, am I about to say something that I feel like
Yeah.
saying? Or am I about to say something that my child needs to hear? And those are usually two
Yeah.
very different things. And
Yeah.
then super quick,
Yeah.
because
Do.
this is important. You're not going to do this perfectly. It's
No.
impossible. Like we're human. You're going to lose it. And so when you lose it, you go back and you say, I blew that.
Yeah.
You were trying to tell me how much you didn't want to wear your raincoat today, and I just didn't have time for it, and it was bunchy and hot,
Yep.
and I missed the boat on that, and I love you, and I missed that, and I'm sorry. You can always repair, and that gives you a chance to come
Yeah.
up with a really good a couple of mirroring statements after the
Yeah.
fact, right? And you don't have to lie your kid down and do a therapy session. Like
Right.
it's 2 or 3
Yes. Yes.
statements usually
Yes.
is enough
Yes.
to kind of bring them down calmly, and you will be shocked how little of this can actually make a huge
Yeah. Yeah.
difference
Yeah.
really fast.
Huge. And so Jennifer, if our listeners are like, man, I want to know more about how to hear about her work and read about her work, how can they find you?
So they can go to
Okay.
connectedparenting.com. So I have all kinds of information, and my books are on there. My podcast is on
Yeah.
there. We have a whole team too. I have an office in Toronto and one in San Diego. And we
Awesome.
also work with parents from all over the
That's
world.
great.
Um,
Yeah. Tell them about your
and
books
yeah,
real quick. So
everything's
you've
on
got what are the 2 books so they know about those?
We've got Connected Parenting: How to Raise a Great Kid, and You're Ruining Your Life, which is the book about teens.
Yes, yeah. So, and both those can be
Yep.
found, I'm sure, on Amazon and all that kind of stuff as well. Good.
Amazon.
Well, Jennifer,
Yep.
we thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sharing your insight and wisdom to our
Oh,
audience.
it's really
And I know it's going to really help and encourage a lot of families over the Christmas season. So thank you for taking the time.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Goodbye.
The Art of Raising Humans podcast should not be considered or used as counseling, but for educational purposes only.